Good morning. I didn't realize I was live. Sorry about that, ladies. So today I decided to create with Butterfly Brilliance. Try something other than doing Christmas cards. And I'm sure many of you have the Butterfly Brilliance or something similar. This stamp set, and I have it in my Stamparatus, is one full stamp. And then the dies, it does have individual butterflies, but then it has one complete die that you can cut your butterflies out if you want. I did cut out one individual butterfly for the front, but we're going to do something a little different. Hello. I know I posted a pink and a blue card, but what I decided to do was do a simple Saturday blue card, and I'm using Night of Navy and Whisper White ink. And then I am going to do my Stepped Up Sunday on the same video today. I will not be able to be posting anything tomorrow because we'll be in the hospital. So I figured I'd get it all done today. So we're going to start with Night of Navy. And it's 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4 1/4. So nice regular card base, and we're going to use it portrait. And then I took an additional layer of Night of Navy, and this is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. Then for the inside, I have a Night of Navy, the same size, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And then I have basic white, 5 1/4 by 4. I also cut out a piece of vellum, and this is the layering circle, 2.5 inches. Now we also have the vellum that is has images on it. You could use that also. And then, like I said, I ended up stamping this butterfly right here in the corner on a smaller piece of paper, and then took the die and cut it out. And I used Memento. So before we do the front of the card, let's pull out our butterfly, and we are going to color him. Now I wanted it to be in reds and orange and pinks, so I'm going to start with some light cherry cobbler. And I have one colored already, so I'll color this one now. And I am just putting this right at the edge of the wings. And we're starting with this bottoms section first. I'm just going to pull that up. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this side. So I'm just adding some color and pulling it up just a little bit over that stamped black. So it'll be a little darker, and then it gets a little lighter because it's off the stamping. Hey Karen, I saw those storms. I think I've mentioned before, we watch Ryan Hall, y'all, on YouTube. And you know what? I am going to change my light here. And he was on yesterday with talking about those storms. They were intense. I know it hit Pennsylvania on the west side of Pennsylvania, but we didn't get anything. I mean, it's crazy how the weather has been. I'm just gonna pull this down a little bit. That's better. Okay. So I'm glad you only had minimal damage because it was nasty out there. Okay, so I started with light cherry cobbler. Now I am going to pull in some light sweet sorbet, and I'm using the tip end, not the brush, and I'm going to go over the end of what I just colored and extend it out just a little. So we're going to extend that out, and I'm going to go over the end, and I'm just going to extend that color out just a little bit. Now that's going to blend a little bit with that light cherry cobbler. It won't be so noticeable, the change color, because we have that black stamped mark. Okay, now I want to go from that sweet sorbet to dark mango medley. Now if I try to, and I'll use this piece of paper. Oh, let me get the nib. So here's the sweet sorbet. If I try to get my color from sweet sorbet to dark mango medley, you'll see that there is a definite line. I went over it, but the colors are so different that it's not going to blend properly, so it all comes together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the light Calypso Coral, and I am going to add that to the end of the sweet sorbet, and you're going to need to just hit that a little bit so it blends together. We're going to do the same thing on this side, and I'm going right over the end of that line, giving it a good scrub, and then just extending it a little. Now we're going to let that dry a little bit. We're going to have to go over it. Thank you. And then I'm going to get my mango medley, and we're going to extend this color out just like that. Now, since that's still wet, I'm going to go back to my Calypso Coral. I'm just going to color that in a little bit more. Come back over here with my mango medley. I'm going to color this in, going over this Calypso Coral a little bit. Pull my Calypso Coral. We're going to just color that area in again, go over the mango medley. And then I'm going to take some light Daffodil Delight, and we're going to color in just this section of the wing. You can hear that my markers are drying out. They're squeaking. I'm going to have to experiment before I buy new. You'll notice that, I don't know if I can get this one out. Some of my markers I can pull out the end. I'm going to try to use the refills to fill it up. All right, so I'm just going to add some more of the Daffodil Delight right at the end there. And then I'm going to come back in, and I'm just going to extend the mango medley a little. When it's wet on wet, it will definitely blend together much easier when it's drying. So we're just going to add some dark, that Daffodil Delight. And then we're just going to go over it with that mango medley. And then this way it will all soak together. Thank you. And have a nice blend. So now let's do the top wings of this butterfly. And we're going to color it the same exact way. We're going to add this cherry cobbler. Just like that. Turn it around. Do the same thing on this side. And you don't have to go this crazy if you didn't want to. I just wanted to add some really pretty colors. So now I'm going to go back to my sweet sorbet. I'm going to go over the end and extend it out. Just doing a little bit of scrubbing so we get the end of that color to blend. And if you work a little quickly and get it before it starts drying, it does help. Light Calypso Coral. We're going to go right over that end and extend the color out. Come back over here. Going to go over that end. I'm just going to scrub it a little. Break up that harshness. And then we're going to grab our mango medley. Add that down there. And we're going to extend this out. Do the same on this side. There we go over that line again. And then the Daffodil Delight. And we're going to fill in the rest of this area. And we're going to avoid this piece. That center piece there. So we're going to color around it. And I'm just going to scrub that end a little bit. And then hop over here. Oh, that squeak is so annoying. Alright, so now that the wings are done, this little piece here, I am going to grab my sweet sorbet and the Calypso Coral, and we're just going to do the sweet sorbet where the artist lines are on both sides. And then the Calypso Coral, we're going to finish coloring it in. I'm going to, again, go over that edge so it blends together. Okay. Now I'm going to take my Night of Navy, and these little dots, I'm just going to darken them up a little bit. For his body, I'm going to grab my dark gray granite, and I'm going to get his head, and all I'm going to do is color his body completely in. Then I'm just going to take a regular black marker, and I'm going to outline his body. And then the artist lines, I'm just going to add some black to those artist lines. Just like that. Hey, Kathy, how are you, honey? And then I'm going to take my white gel pen, and I'm just going to add a little bit of white to highlight him a little bit. Okay. Now I want a little bit of separation between this top wing and this bottom wing, so I'm using an indigo blue pencil. And I'm just going to put some color right under that wing and blend it out a little so it's just a little darker. Do it on this side too. And then I'm going to come down and go right down the side of his body on both sides. Now it doesn't really look like much. It's just a little bit of shadow. Now I'm going to take my white pen and right along the bottom of this wing, I'm just going to put a white line. Now that white line, what it actually does, and you can't really see it in the video that well, but when you add lightness, it makes the dark show up a little better. Now I could put that shadow in a little deeper, but I'm not. I'm going to just leave it. Thank you, Kathy. I'm just going to leave it just like that. Okay, so that's going to be on the front of our card. So let's pull in our 5 3/8 by 4 1/8 piece of Night of Navy. And I have my Stamparatus. Now what I've done is I have my piece of paper in here, my grid paper, and I actually marked where I want to lay my cardstock. So I'm going to line it up on these lines. And I want to hold it down. So I'm just going to put this down here, check to make sure I have it in the right spot. I just have to move it over a little. Now the reason we're doing the Stamparatus for this card is because it will aid us when we make our stepped up card. Okay. All right. So now our Stamparatus is all ready. I'm grabbing my Whisper White and we're going to ink up the whole entire stamp. So you want to make sure it's inked up good. We can go back and correct it if we need be, but we're just going to close that up. And then lift it. And it's not dark enough, so let's ink it up again. And I think it is on there. And we're just going to stamp it one more time. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we're just going to pull that out. I am going to just get a wipe. I want to just wipe that off a little because we need to use it again. Just using a baby wipe right now. I gotta see if I have a dry one. I do. Because we don't want our next bit of stamping to be dirty, right? So just clean that off real quick. Then I'm going to take a dry one and just close that up. Okay, so now we have our front. Let's grab our card base. This is quick and easy. With my card base, I'm just going to grab my seal. It's much easier to add your seal to the base and then lay your layer down. So that's what I'm going to do. Line this up. And then it's on the front of the card. I'm going to take my circle of vellum and I'm actually going to pop this up. And I can add my dimensionals. You want to add them to the center because we want the butterfly to hide it. So let's just put this right here in the center. You know what? I didn't even pull out a sentiment. Let's see. Do I have a quick sentiment somewhere? All right, we'll use from the gnomes. Sorry about that. Let me just grab us. I didn't even think about the sentiment when I was making this card. Let me just grab this warm wishes sentiment. Okay. So we have our, I'm looking to see if I have a quick punch that we can use. Here we go. So we have our vellum circle on. Now let's grab that butterfly that we just colored, and we're going to add it. Now it's going to show here, but we'll put our sentiment there. We're going to add this butterfly right about there. And I'm going to put it on so it's just covering that top dimensional. Just like that. Let me grab a, there we go. We'll use this scrap piece of paper. I'm going to grab my Night of Navy stamp pad. And we're going to ink up Warm Wishes. Just quick and easy. So this is a real simple Saturday card. Now I'm going to put my sentiment down towards the end because we'll tie a bow. So click that out. We're going to add this. We'll use a dimensional and we'll pop this up. I'll use a mini. So we're just going to add our dimensional right to the end. Make sure I have it on the right end. And let's add this right about there. I have ink on my finger. And then I'm just going to grab some twine. And this twine actually is retired. And I'm going to double it up. So I have a nice long length and it's doubled. And I'm just going to tie a bow. Quick and easy. Okay. Take it off my fingers. Now this side that is looped, we're just going to straighten this out a little bit. We're going to open up that loop and then trim this side so it's the same length. Grab a glue dot. Straighten out these little loops so they're nice and neat. And then we'll just add this right to the end of, oops, where'd that glue dot go? Let me grab it this way. And I'll just grab, it's warm in here, so they're really sticky. There it is on my finger. So we'll just add that glue dot right there. And then we can add our bow. Just like that. Oh, wow, you're doing it on the TV. That's awesome. I've never been able to do that before. Okay, so there's the front. Now for the inside, I'm not going to do it yet because I need to keep the butterflies clean, but I'm going to stamp butterflies down half the inside. So we'll do that at the end because now I want to, as pretty as that is, let's step it up a little bit. And we're going to use the same exact things. We're going to use 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4 card base. And we're just going to make sure that's good. Move that over for now. Okay. Then I have the same inside, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and then 5 1/4 by 4. We're just going to sit that aside. Then we want 3 pieces of Night of Navy, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. Okay, so let's put the card base aside. We'll get that card out of the way for a second. And we're going to pull back our Stamparatus. Now it should be dry and clean, and it's not really all that clean. So I am going to get a piece of scrap paper. I want to use Versamark now. So I am just going to, oops, let me put that aside. I'll lay this in here. I'm going to grab my Versamark and we're going to clean this off quick. So when I stamp my card, it'll be clean. Okay, that looks much better. Okay. So just like we did when we stamped the white, we're going to take our layer of Night of Navy. You want to make sure, I have to make sure that it is in here flush because I marked where I want this to go. And I'm going to line it up at that line and make sure it is on there nicely. And I'm going to make sure, yep, it's all lined up. Okay. Let's pull in my tray. I'm going to use the embossing buddy just to cover it so I can emboss, and it won't be all over the place. Okay, so I want to make sure now that I line this back up. So let's just get this in here. Let's move that a second. Okay, so it's lined up. Let's get this magnet down here just to hold it in place a little bit. And that's good. I'm going to grab my Versamark. And we're going to ink this up really good. Piece of fuzz. Okay, that's probably good. We can always do it again. And we're just going to stamp this with the Versamark. Let's open it up. That looks good, but you know what? I'm going to hit it again. This side. We want to make sure that's really nicely covered. Close that up. And lift it. Very nice. Okay, so now I can pull this out. Pull in our tray. I'm grabbing white embossing powder. And we're going to cover this in white embossing powder. turn it, get this corner. You want to make sure you get the excess off, even though I use the embossing buddy. Sometimes we just get these little stray pieces. I'm just going to brush them. Okay. Now I can take my holder and I'm just going to emboss this really quick. So I'll be right back. Thank you. It's going to take a couple minutes. So let me just get this. I love being able to watch the embossing powder turn. You want to make sure it turns nice and white. And I'm just going to go butterfly by butterfly. Sorry if it's loud. Okay, so now that it's all embossed, let me close this embossing powder. Now that it's embossed, and you're going to wonder why I use the Stamparatus. Well, I use it, one, because it's a nice big platform to stamp. Secondly, because when you emboss your layer, you need to emboss 3 layers. So you want 3 layers of the exact same thing. Okay? That's why I used the Stamparatus and placed my mark. So each piece is stamped the same using the white embossing powder. Okay? So let's pull in our card base. Now, I'm going to use the one we just embossed for our base. There are a few little stragglers there that I missed when I was taking off the embossing powder. Now, I'm actually going to also add, you can notice that it's a little warped. It hasn't had time to lay down. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the corners, and then I added the seal to my card base. And we're going to take this and we're going to line it up right on the front of this card. And again, this is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. So there is the front of the card. It's stamped. This is stamped in white. And you'll notice that it is still the same layout. Okay? So now that we have this piece on, we still have 2 layers left. Let's pull in our scoreboard, our trimmer, and we're going to take one of these layers, and I want to reduce this in size, and I want to reduce it by 1/2 inch. But instead of taking a complete 1/2 inch off one end or each end, I'm actually going to take off 1/4 inch on each side. So we're going to just do 1/4 inch all the way around. That'll give me my 1/2 inch that I want to take off. Now you could do a 1/2 inch, but it's just not gonna work the way you want it to work. Okay, so there's my 1/4 inch off each side, and then I have my layer. Let's pull our card base back in, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this layer and we're going to pop it up onto the front of the card, lining up the images below. That is the reason why we did a 1/4 inch on each side instead of a 1/2 inch on one side. We wanted it to be even and centered so it'll lay perfectly on the layer below. So we're just going to add some dimensionals. Gosh, how I hate these little dimensional papers. And we're going to take our layer, and you want to line it up so it's even with the layer underneath and it's centered. And just, that looks good. Pop that up. Okay? So it's got a little bit of a popped up layer. Let's go to the next one. This one I said was a 1/2 inch. So if we take a 1/2 inch off of this, it's going to be the same size as this layer. So this time we're going to take a 1/2 inch off of each side and reduce it by a full inch. So let's get that trimmer in again. And we're going to do it the same exact way, except this time we're taking a 1/2 inch off each side of this layer. It's like, oh no, cutting into our beautiful embossed layer. That's okay. All right, one more. Okay, so that should be 4. So I got 4 1/2 inch pieces. And throw them right away. Grab our layer. Let's get some dimensionals. And we're going to pop this up. Okay. Pull our card in. We're going to do the same exact thing. You want to line this up so it is lining up with that layer underneath. You might have to move it up and shift it a little, but you want it to be lined up with that layer. That looks pretty good, I think. Okay. All right. So now it is 3 layers. Ah, thanks, Kathy. So there are our layers. So let's go back and let's see, where is my, here's my butterfly. Oh, here it is. We're going to pull the same piece of, another piece of vellum in. This time I'm going to just put 1 dimensional in the center. Let's add this to a little bit towards the top. And here's our butterfly. We're not going to pop the butterfly up because our layers are already popped. So let's get this here. We'll center it this time. Just like that. We'll use the same exact, here it is over here. Warm Wishes. We won't change that. Let's see if I have it right side up. Yep. Let's get that punch. Line it up in here. And let's see. Add a little bit of glue. We're going to just tuck that under like that this time. Let's grab our thread. Ooh, don't want to cut it. And again, I just have it in half. And we're going to tie a bow back through, take the tail, and we're going to wrap it in that loop that we just created. Then cut open this loop. Make sure our tails are the same size. I'm going to pull it off my fingers. Straighten out these loops. You know, with thread or twine, it has a tendency to curl. I should have straightened that out before I made the bow, but that's okay. Let's grab this glue dot and let's put this right there. We'll add it right to the bottom of that butterfly. And there is just a stepped up version of this card. Now for the inside, for both of them, what I would do is, just going to get some of this out of the way. I'm going to pull my Stamparatus back in. And it looks like here's the end on this side. And this side, we're going to put this back in just like we did before. Only difference is I don't want the whole card to be inked up. So we're going to lay down a piece of scrap paper. And I want to make sure that I'll use this line here as a guide. Make sure the paper's laying in there straight. Here's my guide. This time I'm going to use some Night of Navy. And I'm just going to ink up this section of the butterflies. So just about half of that big butterfly all the way down. Let's gotta move that magnet. Okay. And just give it a stamp. Just like that. Let's get that out of the way. I'm actually going to grab a piece of Night of Navy, and I'm going to just make it about 1/4 of an inch. Just like this. Because it just looks too funny having the butterflies end like that. So we'll just take a piece of Night of Navy. I'm going to lay this down. Go over those butterflies. Make sure it's on there straight. Just like that. Let's grab our scissors. We're going to give it a little trim. Grab our base or our matte layer. Again, that's where I'm going to add my seal. I don't want the glue to bleed through. this up. Now I would do this to the second card also. Same exact way. I might even flip it around and have the butterflies on the outside. You can do it either way you want, but I will, tongue-tied. I will do the same exact thing to this card. So I hope you enjoyed. Aw, thank you. It is. The white on Night of Navy is stunning. And this is also white, but it does bleed. The color is a little bit more opaque. So you have a tendency to have the color of the cardstock bleed through. So the embossing is just our stepped up version of this card here. So I hope you enjoyed. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever's left. I will not be around tomorrow, I don't think. I'll keep you updated as the day goes on. But I just don't know what the day will bring. So keep us in your thoughts and prayers, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining. Have a great day. Bye-bye.